Today on Pickleballers, we got the Godfather of Pickleball.
He's also the creator of the greatest television show of all time, Entourage. Doug Ellin. You wrote all the characters. You developed the whole thing.
Yeah. My career was over.
And then Wahlberg wants to do a show.
And I'm like, that's the worst idea I've ever heard. Literally, I'm like...
How'd you get into pickleball?
When I walked off that court, I'm like, okay, what is this sport? For 1 second, you feel like you're at center court of Wimbledon and doing things that you could never do on a tennis court. I go to the Delray Tennis Center, and there's an 11-year-old Anna Leigh Waters and Leigh Waters. If they want to separate this from tennis, make it younger, cooler, hipper, edgier. I think this sport is going to be the biggest thing in the world, and I want to get involved. That's how invested and how much I believed in this sport.
Today on Pickleballers, we got one of my best friends in who I would call the Godfather to Pickleball. He is also the most abusive doubles partner there is, like,
the biggest character. There's so many stories, but as much as I don't want to give him credit as being the Godfather of Pickleball, which he is, yeah, man, Doug Ellin. I think we forgot that he's also the creator of the greatest television show of all time, maybe top 3, Entourage.
Except the first season was very slow. And
I loved it.
I thought the first season was super slow. And
New York Times said it was the best show on TV, but anyway, you know better.
First season was slow for sure. I mean, like, you know what's funny is I've tried to get people into Entourage. They always stop on like episode 4, and then I go, just
it's one of those shows you got to say, just give it a little more time.
And then once they give it a little more time, like, this is my favorite show ever. Drew Baird, Caitlin. I mean, I can name a few.
Drew Baird is a wasted talent. Okay, Drew Baird, who you guys could tell, but UCLA #1 tennis player who I watched play pickleball with us in Hawaii, and I was like, who the is this guy? And he doesn't play. Which is sad.
He's so talented.
So Doug Ellin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You are, I'd always heard about you before I don't know if you remember the first time that we kind of met, but we were supposed to do this thing called Lunch Game, which was a series that Jason and I did. We go out and play top pros and celebrities. And so we go out to the court with Matt Manassi, and, it's the day before we're supposed to shoot. And we go out and we're playing a rec game. And Doug was like, oh my God, like, who are these guys? They're terrible. Like, he literally goes, I don't want to do the content. Like, and the thing I love about Doug is I've never met someone that loves pickleball as much as you. And there's so many people that love pickleball, like, to the point where you will literally be like, I'm not going to do this content thing with these guys. So Doug Ellin,
I'm very big on, you got to have the right partner. Otherwise you can look very stupid. If you're not Roscoe, if you're not able to
when we first started though.
By the way, played pickleball with you the first time you ever played pickleball. What did I say after 5 minutes?
Called him the dragon.
He coined the dragon, that's for sure. But you also said that I would outgrow you.
Yeah, in 6 months I said, you won't play with me anymore, but right now I'm going to beat up on you badly. And I did. Yeah. A lot.
So before we dig into all the menagerie of crazy stories, tell us how you got here, Doug. Like, how did you get to this seat? Not transportation wise, but like, how'd you get here?
In career, or are you talking pickleball?
Just your life. Like,
I want to start in New York. I want to start like.
Oh, you want to really hear my life?
Yeah.
So, I went to Tulane in New Orleans, and I really had no plan at all in life except for heading towards law school, which I was never a good student. I don't think there's a shot in hell I would have made it through law school, but that just was the path. And Hollywood, I grew up loving movies and TV, but I never did anything. I wasn't like a theater guy. I wasn't a guy who tried to make movies as a kid, which is so different in 1980 than it is now anyway. Like, you would really have to get a real camera and stuff like that. It's not like, oh, I have an iPhone, I can make any content I want. So I really didn't do anything. And about a month before I was graduating college, I went to a stand-up show with a bunch of my friends. And as I am in pickleball, there was a stand-up comedian doing his stand-up show, and he was so bad, and it just annoys me. Now, I don't heckle the guy, I don't mean that, but my friends would always be annoyed when I would critique a movie or a stand-up thing. So I'm like, how does this guy get on a stage? How can they even allow this to happen? And my friend signed me up for an amateur stand-up night and said, let's see, go hotshot.
Yeah.
So I did it, and I was like, you know what? This seems like a better path than law school.
Were you good?
Listen, the first time I ever walked on a stage, I'm not going to say, oh, it was like instantaneous. It wasn't like the first time I played pickleball. But I knew that this was something I should pursue. And I sat down literally at the UC the last 3 weeks of college. I wrote my first screenplay when I don't even know if I've ever read a screenplay. So I wrote a screenplay. I told my parents I'm not going to law school. My mother literally cried. My father told me he didn't even know I was funny. And I moved to LA the day I graduated college, and I never looked back. So.
And did you do more stand-up?
I did stand-up, yeah. I did stand-up for the first year I was out here. I got a job at New Line Cinema, which is became a huge film company. It was small at the time. But the way I got started, I went to a UCLA extension class at night where a bunch of people pitched movie ideas because that's what the teacher said. Hey, tell us your movie idea. And all these kids got up and told these absolutely horrific movie ideas. And my first idea for a movie, same thing as the stand-up is pitch a bunch of guys pitching bad movie ideas. So I sat down, I wrote this script while I was in the mailroom at New Line. And I said, I'll go raise money by doing a stand-up show. So I invited everyone from New Line to come see me do stand-up. I probably was 22 and a half at the time. And Mike DeLuca, who went on to win an Oscar, became a studio head. At the time he was VP, came to my show for whatever reason and gave me $10,000 to go do this short film. And I went and made it, sold it to Showtime. They aired it.
And this was about people pitching bad movie ideas?
It is literally 8 people, including David Schwimmer, pre-Friends,
Wow.
Johnny Silverman, great actor, Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters and Oz and a million other things, all like found from like being around town. And it's like a 6-minute short. I put myself in it as well. And I ended up selling it to Showtime, which is, I mean, honestly, it was unheard of, like a short film.
Yeah.
But they bought it, they played it.
A lot of money, a little. I don't even
No money. But everybody got paid, which
Yeah.
was amazing because everybody worked for free. So, but no money. And then even wilder than that, I'm legitimately had never been on a film set in my life except this little film, which is just a camera like this pointing at people talking. So it was more of a play than an actual movie. But this producer sees it, calls me up, says, you're a genius, you're going to be the next this and that. And I got this movie called The Parent Trap. We want you to direct. I literally have...
You're 22 and a half.
I'm 22 and a half. I've never done anything. And I'm like, now the craziest part of this whole story is, where is The Parent Trap set up? At New Line Cinema. So less than 6 months.
Was this guy trying to like...
No, less than...
Yeah, who was
like
this guy? Hollywood was this?
This is
Harvey Weinstein?
This is the producer of The Parent Trap, which
Okay.
you know the movie, Lindsay
Yeah.
Lohan,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
this movie got made. But less than 6 months removed from being the guy pushing around mail at this place, I'm going in. Who am I meeting with? Mike DeLuca, the guy who gave me the $10,000 for the short film. And I honestly have no idea about directing, what it really is, what I'm doing. So, but I go into this meeting and honestly it was the talk of the whole place because everyone's like, the mailroom guy's now attached to make this movie. So, and I go in and Mike DeLuca is like, which if I could do that meeting over again, I would have directed The Parent Trap. But I just was me. So I walk in and he's like, so how are you going to shoot this movie? I legitimately do not know what this means. I've never read a book on directing. I don't know anything except my natural instincts of whatever. I'm like, I'm going to make it funny and we'll do this and we'll do that. He's like, let's go to lunch. He takes me to lunch and he's like, listen, I think you're going to have a real career, but you should go to film school and learn. And that's what I did. I went to film school.
And he's like, you're not directing The Parent Trap?
No, I was not directing
Yeah.
The Parent Trap. But if I went back, I could have read 3 books and I could have bullshit my way through it. I really could have. Like,
Do you still talk to DeLuca?
I've spoken to him, over
Okay.
the years, many times. Yeah.
Where'd you go to film school?
AFI, the American Film Institute.
Is that here in Los
It
Angeles?
was in Hollywood, yeah.
Okay.
My class, was Darren Aronofsky, and there's only 8 people who got into this directing program out of probably 1,000. So with this short film, I got into that, which was pretty amazing because I never got into any.
Where can I watch this short film?
It's on online.
What's it
Pull
called?
Up right now, The Pitch.
Was it also slow? No.
And so, and I don't want to go
See my
away
hair
from
in that.
I don't want to.
So much hair in that thing.
I don't want to go away from the movie and the that whole part of your life. But were you playing tennis at this time?
So I was, never a tennis player of anything good.
But were you playing sports
recreationally? When
Okay.
I was in LA, I played tennis a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to
Basketball was probably more I was playing. Yeah.
Okay. So you went to film school, and then what?
I come out of film school, and similarly, my cinematographer, I think Roscoe's actually met, but a guy I've worked with for 30 years. He's like, I had this idea for another short film right after film school, and I didn't want to go back for the second year. He's like, let's go make it. So I went and made this short film.
What was that?
It was called The Waiter, which was about a guy who dreams to be a waiter and supports himself by acting, which is like the lowest form of thing. And I'm supposed to write, direct, and star in this because that's my dream, to be Woody Allen, Albert Brooks. That's what I wanted to do. And somehow I'm making this little short film with David Schwimmer again, who's now on Friends and a close friend of mine
Was
at
that
this
just
point.
coincidence, or
No, we became very close, and we're like, we're going to make movies together for the next 30 years. That was, what we talked
still
about.
close to them? Okay.
So I'm getting ready to do this film that I'm going to star in. I've never acted. I don't know anything about acting, but that's, what you do. I raised the money. I'm getting going. And somehow John Cryer, John from 2.5 Men and a million other movies, his agent calls me and is like, John Cryer read the script and would love to do this. And it's a short film. We're not paying anything. I wasn't even looking for an actor.
What is a short film? How long?
This was about 22 minutes, 23 minutes. So I called up Schwimmer and I'm like, yo, John Cryer wants to play my part. He's like, let him play it. You'll direct, you'll write, and that'll be your career. And that was kind of the end of my acting career. I'm not sure it would have gone anywhere anyway. But I made the short film. It, again, got very good response. And a guy called me up and said, I got a movie I want you to direct. And this was a low budget movie, not like The Parent Trap. I think the budget was about $100,000. We went and shot this movie legitimately in like 6 or 7 days over almost a year and a half. And we sold it to a company. They released it around the world.
What was that?
It's called Fat Beach. I mean,
so things were like clearly just going well for you. It wasn't like there were bumps in the road or anything.
Fiscally as well?
You know, it's funny because I've had so many ups and downs in this town, but the first 4 years really seemed like, wow, this is kind of easy, you know? So yeah, I made some money. I sold a couple of scripts. I bought a house. I was getting ready to have a baby and, ended up making that film Fat Beach, which led to my next independent movie, which got picked up by Universal Studios. They were releasing it on 2,200 screens around the world. I'm being very serious when I say I could not have been hotter in this town. I was getting offers. I bought a house that was out of my range, and I was living that life of this guy. And Universal bought this movie that we completely did independently and released it wide as hell and opened it up against The Wedding Singer. So we're like a $1.6 million movie against this Adam Sandler movie. And the movie did not make money. And when I tell you, I'm probably already out here 8 years. I have a pretty expensive house. I have child on the way, and this movie comes out and what they say bombs, which is ridiculous. It just should have never been on that many screens. And my career was over. I went from not having a care in the world for the first 7 or 8 years I was out here to I can't get a call back from my own agents. I am right out of a television show that you watch like Entourage. My career is done. I am in movie jail. I am now.
Are you freaking out?
Freaking out is not the word. I remember when I walked to the park with my German Shepherds and I'm like, I can't believe this. I've been here 8 years. I bought a big house. I'm having kids and like, there's no future for me in this town. I'm going to have to go to law school. And I'm like, probably 28 now, 29.
Should have been a pickleball pro.
You know, actually, oh God, I wish that sport was out then. Yeah. So that was probably the darkest moment I can remember, you know, up to that point in my life. And a guy called me up and he said, I knew him from other things. He said, you should write for TV, which I'd never done anything in TV. I didn't know anything about TV. I said, how do I get into TV? And it's crazy. It's crazy to think about that Curb Your Enthusiasm has been on this long. But he said, write a script for your favorite show. Now I've already sold like 7 features. I've already made 2 movies. I'm like, so I guess I got to sit here for free and write a script for my favorite show. And I wrote a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. I gave it to my manager, who was also Wahlberg's manager. And again, to show you how this town goes, this is also a close friend of mine. He went to school with me. When he moved out here, lived in my apartment. But he had also forgotten about me after this movie came out. And he reads this script. He goes, you know, Mark and I were just talking about like trying to come up with this idea for a TV show. And I read this and you're perfect for it. And that was Entourage, which, What
was the Curb script?
What was the premise of it? It was actually based on something that I did myself, but it was Larry gets in a fight with like someone at the airport and they bump him off a flight or something. But whatever it was, it got a very good response from everyone who read it. And, that was the next chapter after that. So. And then,
so the guy's like, Wahlberg wants to do a show.
Yeah.
And did you know Mark?
I know Mark for a long time. I knew his friends. The truth is, when we sat down at that meeting, they're like, it's about Mark and his friends. We don't really know what. And I'm like, that's the fucking worst idea I've ever heard. Literally, I'm like, nobody wants to watch a bunch of fucking losers hang around somebody. And I remember Steve Levinson, who also got me the job on that movie with Schwimmer before that. I also hated the script. He said, you'll figure it out. And I went home and, I said, what would my life be if my best friends from childhood, if we came out here? Because Mark's friends were a lot tougher crew, a little bit different. Guys would get in fights, just a little different world. And I said, what if they were really family? What if it was a brother who was kind of down on his luck? And if it was a guy like, well, you guys just met Connolly in the other room, but a guy like E, who is like the moral center of this group, trying to keep it all together. And that's where we started.
What's up, Pickleballers? Are you looking for the perfect energy boost on and off the pickleball court? Look no further than Rainstorm Clean Energy. It's not only great for energy, but it's great for your skin and hair. Look at my skin and look at my hair. Do you want that? Yes, you do. Fuel your game today with Rainstorm Clean Energy, available on Amazon. And you wrote all the characters, you developed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And where did Vince in Entourage come from? Was that Wahlberg?
No, because we were looking for Wahlberg, and the truth is, even now, 15, 20 years later, there's not a lot of Wahlbergs out there. Like, the movie stars are not those kind of type A male guys. Like, they're more Leos and Timothy Chalamet's, and which was actually better for the show, because that kind of like the guy who leads everything. So we needed a guy who kind of likes to make everybody else be the center of attention while he, ultimately has all the talent. So we were lucky that, my producer represented Adrian. And when we met Adrian, we went in a totally different direction from it. But
that was your brain creating Adrian's personality and the way that E supports him in the show, and the way that Johnny Drama is this kind of failed brother in a sense. That was all you writing all this.
Yeah, there's inspirations from many different things, but there's mostly elements from my life. Even though Mark has a real Johnny Drama, but I have a guy who was like my closest friend who was completely Johnny Drama, so I use that. E on a lot of levels, was me, even though a lot of people hated him. But and I don't mean Connolly, but
really?
A lot of people thought that character was like the guy who was like fucking up the party. But that was always me. Like, we got to focus. We got to get to the next spot. Well, I think he's.
I felt bad for you.
Now I feel bad for you.
Now after meeting Connolly, I feel bad for you.
But it was really about the guy that was going to keep it together, because everybody else could just party. And that's when I got to LA. That's how it was. I had a whole crew out here, and most of them wanted to go out every night and party, and I wanted to work. I wanted to figure out what I was going to do for the next 25 years, not, go to the club. So
how did that show change your life?
In a couple of ways, but obviously financially,
Sure.
is the big one. But, it gave me access to a lot of things. But I want to say, because a lot of people do think it changed something so much. Honestly, financially was the biggest. And getting respect.
You met incredible people. Like, you
so
told me
that
stories
was,
about Russell Wilson and Sasha Grey.
I like how you compare Russell and Sasha, but the access I got to a lot of things obviously was pretty different. But I don't know, the biggest thing it did, when you can make some money out here, you can kind of like relax instead of being under constant pressure at all times, which I was for a long time. But
you had Tom Brady, LeBron James, all these guys, Richard Branson coming on, just making cameos.
How did that happen? Sorry.
No, it's crazy. And
how did that happen?
I think that was because everyone was a fan of the show and wanted to be part of it.
Yeah,
I don't know if you made those asks, but
no, for season 1, it was impossible to get anyone. We had, on the pilot, we had an actress named Gina Gershon, who's a great actor. She was supposed to play this part. She literally did not show up, like, on set. That's how kind of low level we were. And
so who ended up playing her?
Allie Larder, because Adrian was friends with her, legitimately called, Allie Larder, who's
she was
awesome.
In Varsity Blues, right?
She's in Varsity Blues. She's awesome. But he literally called her from the set and was like, could you come down to this show right now? And then episode 2, Mark was doing a cameo, and I'm being very serious. Mark was amazing for everything about the show. I didn't even know if he was coming. Like, we were kind of sitting on the set like, he's coming, right? Like, it felt that kind of low level, low rent. And Mark did show up. But by second season, after people started seeing it, then the calls started coming to us, especially from the athletes. Every athlete wanted to be on the show.
Did you get picked up? Like, how does that work? So you had the idea. Did you get funding for season 1?
So we go into HBO, which you have to remember, this is 2001. HBO is the only...
What's
Sopranos, Sex and the City, Curb.
Yeah.
But HBO is the only game in town if you want to do something quality. There is no Netflix. There is no anything. So it's kind of one and done. So we went in there and we pitched this show, and they say, okay, we'll buy a script, which when that happened at the moment, it was like, oh my God, we made it. That meant they pay me $50,000 and will work me legitimately for the next 20 months.
All that money goes to you, though.
Yeah, all that money, $50,000.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
at your
Nobody
20,
else gets
how old
paid.
were you? 22 and a half,
Yeah,
right?
that was a lot less than
You were 22 and a half when you did.
No. This
26?
is like 30 almost, 29,
Yeah, okay,
30.
okay,
Yeah,
so-
this,
okay.
But this is
I mean, you already had a full career of 7 feature films by this point. It wasn't
2 films, a lot of scripts that I had sold, but $50,000 to write a pilot is not a lot of money.
Yeah.
And this lasted legitimately 18 months. By the end of the day, the amount of time I put into it was far less than minimum wage. And I'm serious, but no, nobody else makes anything. Mark doesn't get paid. Nobody else gets anything unless the show goes. And they worked me, like notes, and it never felt like it was going to go anywhere. And many times during this process, I was like, okay, we're done. There's no reason to keep going on with this.
I mean, that's just knowing what Entourage is now. That's crazy.
When you look at like the first draft that I wrote, I remember the day when I had hired the head of UCLA screenwriting to like mentor me, work with me, make sure I had the right structure. And I remember when we were done, which I was paying her, so maybe that's why she said it, but she goes, this is one of the best pilots I've ever read. And when we handed it into HBO, Mark, Steve, and I thought we were good to go. And I remember when I was sitting on my bed and he calls me up, he goes, HBO read it, they don't like it. And I go, what don't they like about it? And he goes, they don't like anything about it. And
This is Entourage.
Yeah.
And this is what it was.
Yeah. I have a baby now. I'm in a house. The law school thing I thought again was behind me, but now I'm like, I remember honestly just going, I don't even understand. Like I'm so sure this works, but whatever. And they, you're dealing with a lot of people giving you a lot of comments. I've also never done TV, so they could care less about this failed movie I did. It doesn't mean anything to them. So they would keep giving comments, and I drove to Palm Springs in August, because they had said one thing, the executive had said, we want these guys to speak in their own language that nobody else understands. And if you guys probably don't even know the movie, but I was like Wind Talkers, which is like a movie where they talk in code to avoid like the enemy finding out what they're saying. I went to Palm Springs in August by myself, took like a shitty hotel room, and I wrote a completely new script. Legitimately, I tried to create a language. It was so bizarre. And I sent it to my, producing partner. He's like, I don't even know what the fuck this says, but I'm laughing my ass off. And I go, I don't even know what it is. I don't know what it is. We send it in, and you got to remember also, there were only 3 shows at a time on HBO, Sunday night.
Yeah.
So
Best
limited
night.
spots.
Yeah.
So we get a call like a month later. They love it. We're moving forward.
How did you get the lingo? Like, how did you come up with the words? Were you just making up shit?
Now I'm telling you, there's not a word of this in the final show. Like we almost revert back to what I first wrote after we get going.
Was
after
it a test? Were they just like, let me see?
No. It's a bunch of people trying to figure out what they want. They don't trust me, which they didn't. They had a right not to. And then we start casting. Then we start looking for a director. Every single director in this town passed on this show. I'm talking every single one. The only guy we can get, which this is also a funny story, David Frankel, who's just a fucking genius, gem of a human being, directed Devil Wears Prada, Band of Brothers, Sex and the City. He passed on directing the Sex and the City pilot. So the only thing I could do to a guy, by the way, who I've never met, is call him up and go, basically, you don't want to miss another Sex in the City. You got to. So he's going to come out and fly me out. But before that, he directed Band of Brothers.
So good.
And I call, like episodes and whatever. I call David Schwimmer. I'm like, David Frankel from Band of Brothers? He's like, he's a genius. He's amazing. He's this, he's that, blah, 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 blah. But he says to me, he's a little heavy set. You got to be careful on set because like he literally could have a problem. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So this guy flies out. And I swear to God, at the exact moment that he walks into the office, handsome, fit, great guy, David Schwimmer calls me randomly. And when I see this guy, I go, this is not the guy that David Schwimmer was talking about. There's no fucking way. So I'm like, hey, David Frankel. I go, hey, Schwimmer, David Frankel just walked into the room. I'm like, say hello. I put them on the phone, and they're like having like, not even a conversation. And what happened is it was a different David who directed a different episode of Band of Brothers. So I don't even have the right director. But by the way, that doesn't even matter because this is the only director left in town that HBO will approve. Okay, that's it. So
you have no idea who this guy is.
I have no idea who he is.
Like
I'm like, I don't know if anybody likes him, but it doesn't even matter. And he becomes a very good friend, and he becomes, thank God, he agrees to do it. We sit down the next day with the script when we're moving forward, and he goes, I got to be honest with you. I don't know what the fuck this script says. I don't even know what it is. Okay, like there's no story. They're talking all this weird gibberish bullshit. I'm like, I fucking hate it. I have this script. I give him that script, and now he has the power to basically go back to HBO and kind of go, we want to rewrite a lot of shit. And we end up writing, I swear to God, 75% of what we eventually shot was in the first script. But that's how crazy things can go in this town. And if you don't navigate your way through the process and get very fucking lucky, which we did with a lot of elements, you can't get anywhere, you know? So
how many seasons were there?
8.
I knew that. I just wanted the audience.
But so when did you know it was becoming a success, and when did you start getting hit up by LeBron James and Tom Brady and Richard Branson, all these people wanting to just make cameos on this show?
So as you know, how neurotic I am and how crazy I am, you know,
Kanye West was on this show.
He was that fucking jerk off. But anyway, as I said, we come out, and I can tell you, just like in the show, if you remember the episode where Drama gets a good review, or Vince from the New York Times, all I cared about at the time was the New York Times. Like 20 years ago, this meant everything, and it meant everything to my fucking parents.
Is that because you're from New York?
It meant everything to the whole world at the time. If you get a good review in the New York Times, you might get somewhere, and it's just, it was really like, you know, and for my parents, it was everything. And, you know, the movie Fat Beach, the New York Times said they don't even comprehend how this movie was put in a movie theater. And they were correct, by the way. So when we got the review in the New York Times, I think that was as close to as emotional as I've ever been. Oh, it said it was the smartest show on television, you know, and it said it. And it also said, which, you know how the culture's changed the last 20 years. It also said it's not even as close to as vulgar and racy as things like that were on network television, like Desperate Housewives, which it wasn't. It was pretty much, you know, there was some crude language, but at the end of the day, it was not nearly as vulgar as a lot of shit on. But so what happens is we get this review, which I think all HBO cares about is reviews anyway. But TiVo had just come out. So numbers had completely changed. So when I saw the ratings, which when I first saw the ratings, the show airs while we're in Vegas, shooting an episode in Vegas for season 2. So the first time I see the ratings, I see them, and we have like a whole crowd, we're filming, and I get this number, and I'm like, oh my God, we're fucking dead. This is like, they're gonna cancel us today. I get a call, hey, Chris Albrecht's calling, who's the head of HBO, the guy who put on the show, and I'm like, you know, this, and I'm like, I'm literally walking up from Vegas in my hotel room, and I'm like, ready to say like we're shutting down production, everything's over, and this and that. He's like, Doug, we got a monster. I'm like, a monster? What are you fucking stupid? Did you see the numbers? He goes, the numbers don't mean shit. Nobody watches things live anymore. They watch in groups. They do this, that. I'm like, great. He goes, we're going to go as long as you want to go. We're going to make as many episodes, as many seasons as you want to go. And this happens, and like straight out of Entourage, I go back down, and Jerry Ferrara plays Turtle in the show, has a scene. I am telling you, I have no idea if anyone's watched this show. Maybe 3 episodes have aired so far on HBO. And Jerry comes out to the pool at the Hard Rock Cafe, Hard Rock Hotel, which if you've ever been to that pool, this is the East Coast Mecca. It's Jersey, New York, whatever, a bunch of fucking meatheads in the pool and blah, blah, blah. And Jerry comes out and people fucking start screaming, Turtle. I don't know at this point that anybody's even watching this show. Turtle, Turtle. I'm like, is this a bit? And it was so surreal. And that was the first time I'm like, holy shit, we have something here. So that's 3 years after that HBO meeting. What
a great story. Amazing. And great answer to the question.
Yeah.
And so you went 8 seasons. What was it like when it ended?
Oh, it was beyond emotional. But for me, you know, in the same way, like I always say, everybody's like, why don't you keep making shows and stuff? For me, and this has nothing to do with being a good show or a bad show, because there are some people who can work and make it a life balance. And I was not one of those people. I was obsessive with every single thing that happened, every syllable. And, you know, it cost me a marriage, and it was incredibly grueling, grinding work for me at a lot of times. There were amazing things about it. Obviously, I wouldn't take anything away from it. But there was part of me that was like, I can't keep doing this. Yeah. First of all, it's hard to keep coming up with stories for a bunch of guys that live together, which, you know, everyone always used to ask me, is that show realistic? The Hollywood stuff is beyond realistic, and the way men speak to each other was beyond realistic. But that people, guys at 30 plus, give a shit about each other that much is not that realistic. People start to have their own lives, their own problems, but it was hard to keep coming up with stuff. So part of me was relieved, but incredibly emotional because we had such a group, as you can see, that I'm still here with these guys today. Great friends, family, and we all knew it'll probably never be like this again because every day was a party on that show. And I don't mean like drugs and crazy stuff. It was just like
Fun.
it was never work except the writer's room.
Yeah.
Everything on set was always just like, this is fun, this is a joy, and whatever.
Has that been replaced by the pickleball court now?
Yeah, I mean, the pickleball court was always the best thing on earth.
So are you an all-in kind of guy? Like, because pickleball, for those who don't know, there's a lot of celebrities who play pickleball. Doug, I would say, is upper echelon. I hate to admit this. He's one of the best. Maybe the only player that I know of that's maybe two is probably Philip Phillips and Chris Humphreys that are celebrity athletes.
That are better than Doug?
I think Phil Phillips is probably better than Doug.
Well,
He's
you
young.
played with Phil Phillips not too long ago. Was he better than you?
I think he was at that
He's
moment.
like a 5'3" or something.
I think
Doug's
he
probably
was,
like a 5'1", 5'2".
I mean, he's much younger, athletic guy.
Chris Humphreys is a monster of a man. I don't know if he's better or worse, but I know he's good.
Yeah.
But like your dedication to the sport, before we got into this room, you're sitting there analyzing with the entire group of people on a text thread, whose ball was it? Was it Robbie Bellamy's or was it Doug's? Asking Paris Todd, asking pros, it's like I'm like, why do you care? But I'm also like, I love that you care.
Yeah.
You know what? It's like when I find a passion for something, which, if we want to move on to pickleball talk.
I mean, is there anything else that
Well,
you
I
think
actually want to talk about the Entourage movie last, but then
the movie.
Then we can get into pickleball because you stopped Entourage for a while. I'm sure everyone in the world was like, Doug, we want another show. We want more seasons. It's my happy place. And then you ended up coming with the movie.
Yeah, which I didn't want to do the movie at all. I mean, the movie I 100% did because Mark convinced me, like, we'll re-syndicate the show. We'll get a Broadway musical out of it. We'll do this. The form of television was A, more correct for Entourage. B, a lot of people are like, oh, it's Sex and the City for guys. It wasn't. Sex and the City was a romantic comedy. This was a show about young guys.
Guys aren't romantic. It kind of is.
Yeah, but it's not, and you can't. When you have a romantic comedy. First of all, Sarah Jessica Parker was a bona fide movie star. We didn't have one of those.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we still, while the show was wildly successful, it was still a much smaller niche than you were going to get with a romantic comedy. Because, by the way, a romantic comedy, even if people never heard of Sex and the City, a girl's going to go, come on, we're going to this movie Friday night, especially then. I mean, no one goes to the movies that much anymore, but I didn't want to do the movie.
What year was the movie?
2014, maybe 15. So, but if it was today, it would have been on HBO Max, and that would have been a much better play for me. But it was also, when the movie came out, was really the start of the Me Too movement, and the same show. The new reviewers were a new breed of a culture that I don't think any of us understood was coming. And it was like the same. I mean, the movie still is very similar to, especially the better seasons of the show, which I think were the earlier seasons. But they tortured us. These rich, white misogynists. I was like, what the fuck is this? It used to be like these loyal, good human beings. Now they were animals. So,
did you feel you couldn't be as vulgar in the movie?
It wasn't till the movie came out. I didn't even understand what was happening because we tested through the roof, which means, what a movie test is, you get a huge audience in the middle of nowhere and they just watch it. And we were the highest testing comedy at Warner Brothers that year. So they were like pushing me to write the sequel before it even opened. And I'm like, I'm not writing one word. I've seen this movie before. I wrote the show about this shit. I'm not writing one syllable until I see this movie open. And when the movie opened, by the way, which Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we actually were doing really well. And then all of a sudden, it collapsed, but the reviews were, I didn't even understand how awful they were and how vicious they were. And it did not reflect, by the way, the people that went to the movie, because, they do exit polls when you walk out. And we were also the highest exit poll of the weekend.
Yeah.
But because you saw how the culture changed, you can even read in Variety, these fucking losers, which I trashed on the show all the time because they are such frauds. They wrote actually an article in Variety that we had an A- exit poll, but they said that could be skewered by Entourage fans. Now you go, what the fuck does that mean? Yeah. Like, people go to a Timothée Chalamet movie because they like Timothée Chalamet. Yeah. So yes, people who went to the movie were Entourage fans, but they liked it.
Yeah.
So that was it was a little weird and it was a little this, but at the same time, at that moment, I was moving on. I was doing 2 other shows. I was doing a show with Mike Tyson, and I was doing this other thing with Eddie Burns and Michael Rappaport and Michael Imperioli. So, I had kind of moved on from it, but it was still kind of shocking,
And how did you shut down after? Like, did you retire after the Entourage movie? Because I'm sure after Entourage, you were probably like, I'm done unless like I want to work for fun.
No, I did 2 other shows. Like I said, I did a show with Spike Lee that I came up with that he directed. Unfortunately,
but was that out of passion or was that?
That was out of passion, but I was producing that, which was a much easier place to be than writing every syllable. And then I did this other show that I actually really liked with Eddie Burns and Michael Imperioli.
What's up, pickleballers? I've got the Franklin C45 pickleball paddle here. This thing's played by J.W. Johnson, Hayden Patriquin, Paris Todd. It's one of the most versatile pickleball paddles in the market. Tons of power, tons of pop, tons of spin. You got to get this paddle. Check it out, franklinsports.com today. All right, so we don't lose every single pickleball person that tuned into this.
Yeah.
Fascinating story. I love it. How'd you get into pickleball?
Pickleball, who I think really made pickleball happen in this country, I really do, is a guy named Mike Meldman, who I had put on Entourage, but Discovery Land. He also started Casamigos. He started putting in courts. Started Casamigos. He started putting courts in his places, which he's got all over the world, these private clubs that he's built. Baker's Bay in the Bahamas and El Dorado in Cabo and the Madison Club in La Quinta.
Coeur d'Alene where Tyson is a lot.
Yep, exactly. So I was there one day and Phil Mickelson was on this pickleball court and, just bring it back to Entourage for a second, you saw like I put ping pong on Entourage because I became obsessed with ping pong during Entourage. We had a table in my office. I played every day and I was like, what is this? So Phil was playing with somebody. And
did you know Phil?
I knew Phil. He was on Entourage. Okay. So we were walking by and he was like, Doug, you want to play? And I was like, what? And I have this video, by the way, a little like video the first time I was ever on the court with Mickelson. I'm like, what is this? And I got on the court and to be totally honest, I thought I found my dream sport because, I'm a hands-eye guy. I'm not a
How old were you?
This is 2014 or 15 maybe.
It's crazy.
Yeah, 15 probably. And I'm like, you don't have to be fast. This is all about angles. You don't need like tremendous power. So,
well, back then too, I'm sure you're using a plastic spoon to play with.
It's like a paper mache paddle.
Yeah.
But I'm like on, and honestly, it was a great story. Would if I ever do work again, it'll be in a show. But Phil, like we walk on and get on and he's like, all right, 10,000 a game. I'm like, what? I'm like,
trying to hustle you.
I swear, I don't even know what this is. Number one. Number two, you're like a professional athlete. I'm not going to play with this. But my friend is crazier than Phil. He's like, fine. Doug, I got you covered.
Who is this?
This is my buddy Andrew. I, in case he doesn't want his last name on it, I won't say it. But 10,000 a game. And we start kicking their ass. And Phil, as we all know, everybody blames their partner. Phil's yelling at his partner. He's telling him he sucks and yada, yada, yada. But when I walked off that court, I'm like, okay, what is this sport? And as fate would have it, I was going to Florida like a month later. And I've never done this. Like I was obsessed with basketball. I was obsessed with whatever. I would never go to like on a vacation and go, I got to play this sport. But something in my head was like, I got to play more fucking pickleball. So I start looking in Florida, like where do you play? And I swear to God, and you can ask them, I know they were on the podcast. I go to the Delray Tennis Center and there's an 11-year-old Anna Leigh Waters and Leigh Waters.
It's your second time.
This is my second time in Florida. And I'm like, hey, you guys want to play pickleball?
Yeah, but how did you find that place?
They're probably like, who is this guy?
I don't even know if Instagram exists.
Well, the Delray Tennis Center was a very popular tennis facility.
But like pickleball wasn't a big thing then.
It's nothing.
Yeah, so
I don't know why.
And did you go out and you're like, I'm Doug. I was the Entourage guy and Lee.
No.
Didn't you say Andre Dascu was there as well?
No, this is totally separate. So I think what may have happened actually, maybe I have this backwards because my buddy Matt Strahl lived at Ballin Isles where Serena and Venus trained, And when I went there, I met Andre Dascu, who was the tennis pro at Ballin Isles. So one of the two things happened, but this is all in the first week because I then go back to Florida for the next 3 or 4 years, for a month at a time. And I'm playing with Anna Leigh and Lee and Andre. And I'm actually believing Leigh Waters is a D1 tennis player. Okay. And Anna Leigh was only 11, 12, 13. Good? They they were both very good, but I thought I was like, in their range at the time. I know it sounds ridiculous now, but
you always think that with everyone.
I'll tell you when it changes. But Andre and I we used to play, the four of us, a lot, and my buddy Scott Siegel, we used to go to Florida a lot, and we would play. And I honestly would call everybody. I mean, I tried to. Within the first 2 months, I reached out. I found Robert Elliott at Engage Pickleball. I tried to bring some people in. I said, I want to buy into this company. I think this sport is going to be the biggest thing in the world, and I want to get involved in whatever. We never figured out a way that could work. Wow. But that's how invested and how much I believed in this sport.
And you saw it. I mean, you saw.
I just knew. I understand. And I did a lot of this on Entourage. When I see a product, I understand stickiness, and I understand when people. And I started meeting people in pickleball community, including Anna Leigh who were out there playing every day. What was the future for them? What was the reason behind they were doing that? And it was a passion and love of something that I don't think they ever really believed they would monetize, but I saw that with everybody I met in pickleball. They just were like, I've never loved anything like this. Even the tennis players would always say, I just like it more than I ever loved tennis. So
what other players were you meeting at that time? Was it Kyle Yates? Was it
Kyle Yates? I met very early on. And, I remember
Did you meet a guy named Timothy Nelson by any chance? Puppet Master?
Doesn't sound familiar. Okay. But I remember at one point when with Kyle Yates, I was texting with Wes and he's like, tell Kyle that Query will kick his ass or something. And I don't know Kyle at all. He was walking by someplace. I'm like, yo, Kyle, Sam Query says he'll kick your ass. And I remember Kyle was like, yeah, ask him what I did to Andy Roddick or something. He got very defensive about it, but it was pretty funny. But, and I just really became obsessed with it. And I really did think I was going to get good. And then I went to I've never done any of this shit. I got on a group. Oh, that's how I met people in Florida. I got on Facebook, whatever they call those. I've never done that with anything in my life. Yeah. Facebook groups. That's how I met Wes Burrows.
The Kitchens started as a Facebook group?
I didn't know that.
That's weird.
But I went then out here in LA, I went to Memorial Park, and you just realize this is a community where everybody connects you to everybody. Everybody gets involved and You know
what's crazy is I think that at this point, when I think of Doug Ellin, I think of as much as I connect you to Entourage, I see you as a professional rec pickleball player. I see you as pickleball at Godfather equally with Entourage.
Well, you've gotten so many people into the sport, and me included, that you are, especially in LA, you are kind of like that Godfather, like the guy who discovered it early. And
you know what? It's so interesting because I do want to say this since we're on this podcast, but I played in one professional tournament where, just so you can understand how much this sport has changed, but we would go to Pasadena and play with these people who ultimately became the best. Jesse Irvine and Riley Newman, and I'm trying to think who else was on those courts those days, Wes Burrows. But, Riley, this is only 5-6 years ago, is yo, you want to go play a tournament with me in Kansas City? And we go and we're 5-3 in a tournament with a bunch of 22-year-olds, which I do remember Riley was we should have won that fucking thing. But during the pandemic is when everything changed. Yeah. So Riley calls me up. He's like, it's if you know the line out of Goodfellas, I don't shine shoes anymore. Riley calls me up because game's changed a little bit. I haven't seen him in probably 6 to 8 months. He goes, why don't you get a good partner? Now Lindsay and I will come out and play you. Now, listen, never in my life have I been the athlete that Riley was, number one. Number two, he's 6'2" and 27 at the time. But I actually believed, when I would play Riley, I'd be like, let's go, motherfucker. I can go at you. I can do this. He comes out, and I'm not blaming Wes at all.
It was Wes as your partner.
It was Wes. And we play Riley and Lindsay, and I was I remember going home, the depression that sunk in me because I knew the sport had changed, and I knew
How did it change?
The athleticism, the speed, the power. The paddles had gotten better, but also now
Ernie's and crazy dinks.
People were training and stuff, right?
I mean, it was Riley beat the fuck out of me so badly. Honestly, Wes had nothing to do with it. I was just I really went home. I remember going home, going all of those because I honestly I know it sounds ridiculous. I was in 2014, 15, I'm I may be one of the best 50 players in the world at this fucking game. And I'm and I would tell everybody, I go, you understand, it's angles. You can slow the greatest people down in the world. You can stop them, this and that. It had just but you'd go onto a pickleball court, no stretching, no warm up. You're just like, so I was stupid because at the end of the day, the athletes were always going to come and it was always going to change. But little did I know that Riley was one of those athletes. Andre was one of those athletes, Anna Leigh. But as recently as, I wish I could remember the date, but like 3 years ago, maybe 4. And I've already seen how the sport has changed. So Leigh and Anna Leigh, before like she's winning everything that people care about and understand it, she's like, we're coming out to LA. Will you train with us? And I remember I was like, I can't fuck, like they're going to come out here and, so I called Wes and I'm like, Wes, these people, he doesn't know who they are.
Was this it?
I think
house?
You might have played, maybe.
No, I didn't play 3 or 4 years ago, but I remember Anna Leigh and Wes came over, and this is before I even knew it, but my mom was playing.
It may be.
Did you have a court?
My mom had put the lines on the
so you didn't
court.
have your courts yet.
It may be, but it's so sad to say that I was embarrassed. I didn't want them to see me now, even though, I'm still okay, whatever. But Wes calls me up and I go, is she better than me? He goes, are you fucking kidding? She's better than me. I'm like, and I honestly Anna Leigh. I'm like, I honestly didn't believe him. By the way, she's only 15 at this point, maybe. I'm like, come on. He goes, I'm not joking. She hits harder than me. She does. I'm like, I can't believe it. So the sport changed and, I've gotten over it since, but there was a while where I was legitimately like depressed, even though there was nothing to be had from this except for like, I had a great time playing with I could never play tennis with him in my whole life. I would never be able to play tennis with him or Jack Sock or Sam Querrey or, Marty Fish. That's a whole other story.
Well, I definitely want to tell that story. But the story I want to tell real quick is what you told me about. You were playing with Anna Leigh. You body bag her. She body bags you. And
no, it wasn't me. It was Scott Siegel. We go out. One of my best friends. We're playing at Delray Tennis Center.
What year is this?
Well, we know how old she is. Is she 18 or 19?
She's 18.
All right. So she's probably 13. She's probably 13. So let's say 6 years ago. And Scott and I are playing them. And we play competitive games with them, I think, and she laces one and hits Scott in the chest, which, was a lot softer back then anyway. But I go, oh, actually, I'm on Anna Leigh's team. And she hits my buddy Scott. And I go, do not apologize. And Leigh goes, she never will. And I'm like, I love her. And I always used to say to everybody when they hit people, I'm like, do not apologize. And now it is a little more dangerous than it was. Yeah. But, I think it shows a lot about her character. And she was like fiery and competitive, even in these, stupid rec games playing a 50-year-old.
All right, now tell Marty Fish the infamous story of you whooping Marty Fish's ass.
I did not whoop Marty Fish's ass.
The way you told it, you did. Now that you're on a podcast, maybe you don't want to say it that way.
I'm not shy about Marty, and Marty does not like me like talking about him ever. So I love talking about him. But, when I saw, when I first got on a court with Marty Fish, like me, just like with Roscoe, just like with his brothers, when I see talent, I'm just like, I'm A, jealous, and I'm B, I hate when it's wasted. But we're playing a doubles game, just a fun recreation game at my buddy Gala's house, who has the best pickleball court in America.
Amazing. Insane.
And Marty doesn't come to the net with the best backhand you've ever seen. He just stays back. And I'm like, Marty, you can't, that doesn't work in this game. I don't care who you are. It doesn't work. And we're like losing to whoever we're losing to. And like at one point, I think I said something like, yo, get your ass to the fucking net. So he doesn't say another word. And the game ends. He walks off. He doesn't say goodbye. He just leaves. And I'm like, is he mad at me? And Marty, he was like, he would post things on Instagram, which I thought were funny, like on my wife's Instagram, like, what are you doing with that loser? Which I always thought was like funny, this and that. Anyway, he blocks me. He blocks Sarah, who's the nicest person in the world.
Sarah's your wife.
Yeah. I'm like, your fiance. And I'm like, I'm like, what a fucking freak. And then he calls Sam Querrey up, which I thought was, I probably made the line better because Marty's not as funny as I am, but he said something to the effect of, I don't need an aging screenwriter telling me how to play a racket sport, paddle sport, whatever, which he was correct in saying. But, everyone knows when I was on the court, I was going to tell you how to fucking play the game. Nice. And it really was not a big deal. It was very strange that he was like, took it that personally, but.
So I think there's this thing in pickleball where everyone thinks they're better than they are.
Yeah.
Right. And most people.
Yeah.
I think I'm not very good. So I think I'm one of the people that actually is realistic. But do you think you're one of those people?
No. I'm actually extremely self-aware of where I am. And that's why I even the guys that I started playing with a year ago, actually probably 2 years ago, which really frustrated me. They were all a bunch of tennis players. They're blasting around, banging around. And I'm like, you guys fucking suck. You don't understand pickleball. You don't understand pickleball. And then they started playing pickleball every day. And about 6 months later, I was the one guy on the court out of, with 3 other 28-year-old, essentially. Well, Reeves is probably older than that. But I said, I got to go to work. I'm like either not going to be able to play with you guys anymore, or I got to do something to improve and figure out how to slow you down, because the game did change and they figured out how to make their power actually work in both. So no, I'm very aware, but when I play someone that I know I'm better than, Adler, I get very upset when I lose, and I get especially upset when my partner is not working with me to help me get that.
I'll tell you where I think you go wrong sometimes. You think let's take my brother Robbie, for instance. Obviously a really good athlete, was
won a national championship.
Yeah, NCAA
tennis,
championship, USC, tennis guy. You think you're better than Robbie?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do. You
no, I
said
don't.
it like 10 minutes ago.
I do not think I'm better than Robbie.
But Robbie's athleticism is clearly way better than yours. But you're right. You have a better head than he does. Yeah. You understand the chess game.
I'm going to say something. I think Doug is better than Robbie. I saw Robbie play at San Clemente. He's very good. I played against Robbie. Very good. He can, if you can't handle his power, he's a bigger drive than Doug. He has more tennis pedigree than Doug. He's younger. But Doug can outplay him in pickleball.
But that's what I'm saying. Well, at what point does it mean you're better than someone? Because the game's getting faster, you can serve and drive.
It's about if you can handle their tools.
Obviously, if you're going to do it, which Robbie and I got a medal in a tournament, which was awesome, and Robbie definitely carried us. But what I will say is about pickleball, if you have a partner who's willing to really work with you, your team can be better. If you have a partner who wants to play singles and do flash, and I'm not talking about Robbie, who wants to play singles and be flashy, then you really can have a problem with 2 powerhouse guys.
Yeah.
But if you, which Mariano, your coach, said to me today, you have the ability to slow some people down, not everybody, obviously, and that's a key. Now, when I say, which I don't think I'm better than Robbie. What I think with Robbie is, just like I thought with you the first time I played with you, if Robbie wants to spend 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and focus on nothing but the short game, of course he's going to be significantly better than me. He's significantly more powerful, younger, more athletic, and blah, blah, blah.
Jesus.
But at
just glaze him up more on the show.
What do you say?
Cuter.
He doesn't glaze him up more on the show.
But what I will say at this moment is he has to make a commitment to remove some tennis stuff that a lot of people don't. Yeah. And there's guys that I've seen play who come into this game, Mookie Betts being one of them, who's like, I am going to be a savant and study this sport, and I'm going to learn it. And it's not going to be my athleticism that beats you. I'm going to start beating you by learning how to play pickleball. And I think you have to decide which brain you have,
One of the most important things to you in your life right now, outside of probably your family, is to find a great pickleball game.
Yeah, it's one of my happiest moments in the world. When I find the ideal pickleball game, which honestly, I know he'll make fun of me too. My favorite pickleball game is like when his mother is involved, because she's the best in the world senior pro.
She's super
he likes good decisions in terms of slow game, dinking.
She'll always put you in a good spot, but she's also not going to land one in your fucking vocal cords. You know what I mean?
So who's your ideal foursome?
I mean, those ladies, I can work as hard as I can, and I'm not going to beat them. So I love those ladies. I love
so the senior pro ladies.
I'll tell you what, people who don't overpower him and beat him at the chess game of pickleball.
Yeah, I love people who can beat me at the chess game. And again, I'm not scared of the power, but there is a thing, Robbie serve, he can push me way off the court, which, if he can put that serve in and then put his drive in, I have a hard time making it there. I mean, I'm 57, I have one hip. By the way, it'll all change when I replace my hip, which is happening soon too.
As someone who started in 2014, what do you think of the way pickleball has changed? Do you think it's good for the game? Do you think it's getting too fast? Do you think it's getting too powerful? What are your thoughts?
So I really was a hater a year ago, probably for my own personal reasons. I now watch it. When I watch the highest level, I think it's amazing. I love it. I mean, it doesn't seem to be affecting the top guys. Now, I do see an enormous drop-off when you look at the number 30 doubles. But when I'm watching Hayden and Ben and Tardio, and often you, seriously, I find it to be the most awesome sport. And when I see when I watch Ben slow somebody down and then overpower them the next, I love it. I absolutely love it.
So you're fine with the way it's going, but you don't think that it's getting too fast to the point of that chess game that you fell in love with when you started playing pickleball is leaving the game?
Well, I definitely don't like the singles game anymore at all. I loved when the singles game was people come to the net and then playing in the kitchen like that. But, that's not, it's not for me to say. I have come to appreciate this doubles game now and go, look, it's going to be the best in the world, period. And when kids start, I can't even imagine what's out there when they start focusing, and in 10 years from now, like a guy like Sock, I played with Sock. I think it was early on when he started playing, and I was just watching stuff that I never thought would be possible on a pickleball court. So now I love it. I mean, I'll never be able to do it, and I shouldn't be able to do it, and I should have never been able to do it. But
so you're a pretty notorious talker on the court. I would say that outside of myself in terms of smack talk, like you talk more, but you also talk during the point.
Yeah.
And like you'll hit a drive and say, get ready for this or watch this drop. Like, do you think that should be part of the game?
100%.
So you think people should be able to just talk during
if they want to separate this from tennis, make it younger, cooler, hipper, edgier. And honestly, listen, a lot of people, because, Jason Adler is sitting there listening to this, he likes to try to talk in the middle of points. Not a lot of people can do that. It's one of the things I can do and one of the things that I have to do in order to play up.
I love it, yeah.
I am playing guys that are significantly more athletic than me. So I have to get in their heads, and I've gotten in his heads. He's thrown balls at me.
No, you haven't.
Yeah,
so you
not anymore, not in years.
So Doug definitely, we've had some games, and Doug's, I got to be honest, we went to Palm Springs for the Masters, and going into it, I was playing pretty well, and I was like, and Wes was also like, yeah, I think you and Doug might be close, and
fuck you, Wes.
And we went and played.
It's
and
insulting, huh?
I left that weekend, and I said Doug Ellin is a better pickleball player than me. And that's hard. That's hard. It's like saying I'm sorry. It's one of the hardest things to, I
want Adler to say that. I want him to submit.
But so we were playing at Roscoe's house about I'd say a year and a half ago. And Doug, and it was, first off, Doug said he was going to get us bagels. And so I was relying on that for my nourishment, but we played at like 10 a.m. and he sent, I don't know if he ever texted or something happened. He didn't get me a bagel. So I come down to the court.
I know what happened.
What?
I sent a message while driving, which was stupid, texting and driving. Said, I'm driving by a bagel place. Does anyone want anything? And someone put a heart emoji, which is the stupidest fucking thing on earth. So I would thought that
you probably you.
I don't know. Of course, I want a bagel.
So then I never looked again. That was all I saw. So I never saw the
come
thing.
down to the court. You walk down these long thing of stairs at the Bellamy house, and I'm like excited for my bagel. There's no bagel, right? I have no food.
But you didn't say anything, by the way. He said nothing about it.
He said it like game 4. He was like,
game 4, which I didn't even know there was a problem.
I'm gonna simplify this a little bit. It's me, Doug, Jared, Jack Monroe. We have a game plan from the day before that. It was this whole talked about thing, this bet that me and Doug could beat Jared and Jack. We were trying to figure out who was better between Jared and Doug was the main thing.
Ridiculous.
We get to the court. Jared's mad that Doug didn't bring bagels.
I wasn't mad.
Doesn't say anything.
I wasn't mad.
But
I was
that
hungry.
was his first excuse. So that was Jared's first excuse, kind of giving him the, hey, if this doesn't go well, well, then I can say it wasn't the bagels.
I have low blood
Doug
sugar.
and I win the first 3 games. Jared says the first one doesn't count. So I guess the 3 out of 5 thing, we still had to play a few more games.
This is my story. You just bogarted my story.
I know, but it was just getting too long.
No, but so yours is getting.
All right. So we're two.
But that's not the important part. The bagel, okay. What the important part was Doug.
I think we bageled you the first game, though. By the way, anyway.
So Doug's Doug. He's talking during the game, and I'm like my best part of my game. Maybe one of my third shot drop's been amazing lately, but my best part of my game is my smack talk. And I'm going back. I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, I'm calling him old. He's calling me, I suck. I can't hit it. I can't. Anyways. And so then Doug's like, we're all going at it. And Jack's saying inappropriate stuff. Roscoe's being Roscoe. Doesn't say anything. And then at some point, Doug's like, no more talking. Jared, I don't want to hear another excuse. Don't bring up the bagel. Don't talk about anything. No more talking. And I'm like, no, Doug, you don't get to call the shots. And so we're playing.
It's so not true.
We're playing, and I'm kind of.
I think this is on tape, isn't it? It's so not true. Jared was one who said he talks in the middle of points. Like, let's stop it. I said, I won't say another word if you don't say another word.
That actually could be. You might be right about that. But whatever it was, we agreed to no more talking. And then I think for like a game, there was no talking, and Doug's like,
Like
see
an
how much more
awkward no
enjoyable this is?
talking, too.
And then I think someone said something, maybe it probably was me, and Doug was like, he lost it. And he's like, I don't remember what happened, but
There was an overhead on match point for you guys. Doug hit the overhead.
You called it out.
Could have been in or out. You called it out.
Before it landed.
Before it landed.
and I swore on my daughter.
You started freaking out. You said, I swear on my
Which
daughter.
I would never do if I was ever even thought I could possibly be wrong.
You could be wrong, though.
No.
And I would say 30 seconds later, I thought you two were going to come to fists.
So Doug walks to the net, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to be fighting Doug Ellin. And luckily,
Steve Bellamy, Roscoe's father's watching this
My
in
dad
horror,
was
by the way.
blown away.
and luckily, I don't remember how it diffused, but I think I was,
You know what? I have childhood trauma from my brother because Jared acts like my brother. If you win, you didn't win. And if you lose, you're a loser. So it's very.
Dude, I grew up with three brothers who did this the whole time.
Yeah. It's like there's no way. It's like you won because I didn't have a bagel, and you lost because you suck. You know.
and I'm happy we didn't fight. But then we went to Necker, and I remember there was a moment where like I think I was playing Doug, and I don't remember what happened, but like Doug was.
What do you mean you don't know what happened? You stole fucking Drew Brees from me in this tournament. You're like, he made me fucking not play with Drew Brees, and gave me like. I don't even know.
Jonathan Wait, I play with Drew?
You took Drew and you're like, please let me.
It's my guy. It's my guy.
Yeah, you're like, my guy. And the next thing I know, Chef, we love you. And Chef
thinks he's a 5-0.
Chef says he's a 5-0.
He's literally, he might not even be a 3-0. No offense, Chef, but you hit the ball and it went out of the court. But so Doug was pissed. And then I had to, I saw him at dinner. And the thing I love about Doug is he leaves it on the court. It's crazy. Like you're a madman.
But I want to say, because what it is with this sport, it is such a community, and the fights that all of us, we've seen like little battles on the court, and the friendships I've had, which is the funniest thing. I want to talk about like Roscoe. Roscoe comes to my house. I have, I don't want to be obnoxious, but my hair cutter comes to my house. I'm getting my hair cut. And I walk out and she says to my fiance, she's like, who was that? And she's like, Doug's friend. Okay. And Roscoe's 6'4", 24-year-old handsome guy. And all of a sudden it hit me like if my dad in 1985 had 24-year-old men coming to the house, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? But the truth is some of my closest friends out here, and I'm close with his parents as well, are like 35 and under.
I always think it's wild how close y'all are. And I'll forget. He'll be like, yeah, Doug's one of my best friends. I'll be like, Doug's like, how old are you, 54?
Well, I'm
57.
I just want to say, we do a podcast together. He's like 48 years old.
Like, we could both be his dad.
But I mean, we've traveled to France. Obviously I look at him more like a young brother, a half step brother. But
He's kind of taking since I'm traveling so much, he kind of takes Robbie under his wing now.
But I mean, you talk about again, like the amazing people I met. This is an amazing family. Yeah. Beth, Steve, brother, all four brothers, and we have a great time together. We went to Hawaii together. We went to France together. I mean, not Necker like on Island. A fucking like a lone trip with a group of people.
Yeah, you take Ross to places.
Who is this guy? Yeah.
But it is what is so amazing. I mean, me and you were on the court with Hunter and Yates Johnson. I don't even know which one. Hunter or Yates.
That was the best day ever.
There's no other sport.
Necker Island on the
like I can't. Baron Davis used to be a good friend. I can't go play Baron Davis in basketball and pretend that I can have a good time with him or do anything that would be of value. But you can get away once in a while with that moment, and I think that's what pickleball is. You have that moment where you can feel like you're fucking Roger Federer for a half a second. You hit this shot that you could never ever hit on a tennis court, and I think that's the magic of the sport.
All right. Well, I got some questions for you now that you think that you could be on the same court as some of the best athletes in the world.
Well, not anymore, really, but
I give you $1 million. You have to pick one partner and you have to beat two others. They all have to be, the three people you pick are in the top 10 in the PPA. It's a men's doubles game. So you can pick, Ben Johns as your partner and you can play against two others. You win that $1 million. How are you getting that?
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know that I could. Obviously, I'm taking Ben, but
why?
Because he effortlessly knows how to cover for a weaker partner, and he's able to just, I believe, put you in the best positions possible. Now, the difference in this sport now is these guys are so good that I don't believe they could not target me in a way that I would not be able to. So I don't think there's any scenario where if you tell me I got to play Hayden and JW that we're going to win them. I don't think it would be possible. I think 4 years ago, 100. I would bet a lot of money 4 years ago, 5 years ago that Ben Johns and I could have beat to anybody. I really believe that.
But because the game's gotten faster, you can't anymore.
And they've gotten better. I mean, they've just worked on the craft, to a level.
Who's your favorite player to watch on tour?
I mean, Ben and Anna Leigh are still my favorite players to watch because I'm just...
What about Elise Jones? I know you like Elise Jones.
I love watching Elise Jones.
Why? Because she's diving and...
Because you know what? She's... And I don't want to one of my favorite books I've ever read is a book called My Losing Season by Pat Conroy, who wrote The Great Santini. And he was like a 5'8" point guard for the Citadel. And he talks about, I never had and I'm not saying Elise doesn't have ability like everybody. He'd be on the floor. I mean, to watch her every match dive on the cement. And listen, I'm not that guy. I don't lay out on cement for a pickleball game. I wish I could, but just watching her and her being able to compete with these people who have some physical advantage to her, I love it. She's my favorite to watch probably. But to play, I wish I could play like Ben. He doesn't look like he's trying like Federer. He gets across the court. Like sometimes when I'm in a dink rally with someone really good, and even like in Necker, which Jessie will tell you, she'll say I hung in there for 30, 35s. But every point I'm like, how the fuck does Ben so effortlessly get back to the middle? I'm getting pushed further and further off the court. And I don't know. That's what I love.
Do you have any advice as someone who's probably going to be playing next to him in a week in MLP? I'm on his team now, so I'm going to have to be the right side.
Are you playing?
We'll see. I gotta.
So this advice might be for Martin.
Well, maybe. It's decision making. It's the biggest thing in the sport. Then it's how far your athletics can take you. So I believe if I kill myself, I'd like to get to a 5'2", 5'3", I'm not going to get higher than that, but I would like to get there.
So next time you're in Austin, you got to meet this dude, Matt Napoli. He's the guy that introduced me to the sport. There's only two people I know that love the sport like they do, and it's you and him. And he's like 51. He's a masshole. Like you guys are gonna have a great time. You're probably a little better than him, but
even better.
Any other thoughts? Any last thoughts?
I got one question for you. If you were to create a pickleball movie right now, movie about pickleball, the plot's pickleball, something, it has to do something with pickleball. What would that be? Because I know you've talked about this a lot, but you've never said what it is.
I mean, I don't have an idea for what I would do, but what I think, and we'll see what the dink is. I like dodgeball, but I hope it's not dodgeball because I think this was a once in a lifetime thing where some sport came out of nowhere and some of the most interesting characters in the world, like I said, from Phil Mickelson to LeBron James to Kevin Durant to all the actors, to Ernesto,
Ernesto Russo, shout out Ernesto Russo.
It's just there's some amazing characters in the sport. There's some amazing storylines that are going on, and I think just like it hit me, it was the ultimate delusion because people who were not great athletes could feel like they were for a minute. For 1 second, you feel like you're at center court of Wimbledon and doing things that you could never do on a tennis court. And I think that I want to see a movie that explores the characters, the craziness too, the funniness, because we know how many wild characters we've come across in the last 5 years. But I think there's a lot of what's going on in the country here too, where people are just searching for the dream that seems to be kind of slipping away from everybody and the ability to find something to do in their life that gives them meaning and purpose. And I find that so many of my friends who have been successful in walks of life and some who haven't been and never will be, but they find something in this group, they find something in this sport that I think is really unique. So
well said. I love that. It's like the pickleball commercial right there.
Beautiful. Dougie, thanks for being on today.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks for being a good friend as well.
Appreciate it.
Got it.